Chris D asks, what do you think will happen in the next few decades with the large amount of guys checking out? More women for the guys willing to run game. The 80-20 has always kind of been there. 80% of guys are very well, it's beta and alpha. But the vast majority of men aren't that interested in the things that we're interested. They're interested in having a wife that doesn't outweigh him, that doesn't bitch at him constantly every time he walks in the door, that will pretty much leave him alone so he can go to work and pursue his hobbies, be it like radio controlled cars or hunting or, video games, whatever his hobbies are. That's the vast majority of men. A teeny tiny outlier group, which is us, is interested in women, attraction, seduction, lots of sex, lots of variety, moving and understanding women's mindset. It's infinitesimally small. And it's like I always try to tell people, if you work out, you think everybody works out, when in fact, far less than 1% of the population exercises regularly. And if you're not believing that, just simply go to an airport and look around, and you'll see that you may be the only person literally within a mile that actually exercises, and the place is packed. You can see it at a sports event. The only person that's healthy there, the athletes and you. But game is even smaller than people who exercise. We're an even smaller subset of the population. I think in general, the numbers and the numbers are kind of like decreasing as far as like age of live birth. I think it will almost always stay. And 86% of women by the age of 40 have a live birth. I don't think it's going to change. There's a little bit of lag right now, but most women when they hit 35, it's like a fucking alarm goes off in their head. And be it conscious or unconscious, they start looking for someone to settle down with so they can follow the blueprint. Remember the girl blueprint: boyfriend, engagement, wedding, house, babies. The babies is the reason that all the other shit happens. And so all these girls that are like, oh, I like being single, I'm a dog mom. At about 35, and you can talk to anyone older than 35 that's lived through this, it's like an alarm goes off internally. And then for the next 5 to 6 years, maybe 7, they are on the hunt. And not all, but the ones that are left without children at 35, an alarm starts ringing and they get on the ball and they are not messing around. And that's the real deal. I think that the birth rate will always remain, about 86% of women. That has not changed ever. That's always been constant. And of that 14% that don't have children, a large percentage of them wanted to have children, but were unable to. Be it physically, circumstantially, they had an illness that required they become sterile, or they just tried and it just didn't happen. It wasn't in the cards. So an even smaller percentage don't want kids, but a lot of these guys are really like banging the drum about women not wanting children. And it's simply, there's a lag. I'm like, wait, give it time. You're going to see the numbers all average out. There may be a little bit less marriage because I think people are okay. I mean, you go to like Europe, a hard written marriage isn't that much of a priority as it is in the US. That may back down a little bit, but as far as like people getting together, I think those numbers will always stay constant. That's just my opinion. There's always more women for guys willing to run game. You will always have an abundance. Should you decide to run game, should you become good at running game, you will always have an abundance of women. That's not even negotiable. And it's not even a question. So that's my answer, Christy. And I appreciate your question that will, in the next few decades, will there be a large amount of guys checking out? I don't think it will be that big of a swing. More women for the guys willing to run it. There's always women available for men who run game if they're in a somewhat medium to large city. You will never run out of women. Within a 5-mile radius, there's more women than you could ever, that would willingly fuck you today. Enthusiastically, you will never be able to get to all of them, and they're only within a 5-mile radius. So that's once you know how to run this and what to do and how to move a girl from stranger to naked and in your bed. It's like a magic trick for a lot of people. They don't believe it's possible. And then, you show up with a new girl every week or two, they start believing in magic. So that is a real deal. Let's see what else we have on the timeline.